Oh, first sit down video with the new bookshelves. Also, I need to find all of the books that I read this month because I did put them back on the shelf. Okay. It is both the end of the month and the beginning of a new month, so you know what that means. There's 2 videos that you are guaranteed to have, and one of those is the videos that you're watching today, which is my March wrap-up, my monthly wrap-up. I love doing these videos because it's just kind of my time to kind of like rewind from the month and see what I read and kind of see what I think about all of the books that I read, and I just really love watching these to see what everyone on BookTube has been reading. We're doing that today. We're doing what we always do. Basically, if you've never watched one of these videos before, we're just talking about the books that I read this month. Let's just get into all of the books I read this month. I'm pretty sure I read 13 books this month, and it was a magnificent reading month. First of all, I do want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which is Book of the Month. You guys have heard me talk about Book of the Month literally so much on this channel. I absolutely love and adore them. If you guys didn't know, Book of the Month is basically an online book service for readers. They help promote new and emerging authors and help readers find books that they love. Their team vets hundreds of books every month and then gives the readers a choice of a curated selection of new and early release titles. That way, you can spend more time reading and less time researching. Book of the Month is also completely risk-free. You can skip any month at any time and you won't be charged. And they have the best prices for new and released hardcover fiction. You can get your first book for just $9.99 with the code SPRING in all caps. That's your first book hardcover for just $9.99 with the code SPRING in all caps. It is a deal that you cannot miss out on. And I want to tell you guys about my 2 selections for this month. The infamous blue box that comes to your doorstep each month. The bookmarks are always one of my favorite parts. Responsibilities are overrated. Literally me the past few weeks with doing videos, and I've just been reading. I am actually in love with my 2 book picks for this month. Both of them are on my April TBR, so here's a little sneak peek into that. First of all, we have The Only Survivors, and this is a thriller that gives 100% Outer Banks vibes. And then we have romantic comedy. First of all, this cover, literally, I'm a sucker for a good cover, and I literally just want to display this, but also the premise of this book sounds absolutely amazing. It is basically kind of like imagine SNL, and the main character is like a writer for SNL and like the different parts of her life, and it just explores a bunch of different things that start going on in her life, and I'm actually so excited. Thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. You guys can go check out the other picks for this month and these 2 books if you're interested, and get your first book for just $9.99 with the code SPRING. Thank you so much, Book of the Month, for sponsoring today's video. Let's get into my March read. March, I feel like March is always a weird month. You want to know what? I am a seasonal reader, so I always match books up with what I feel like the seasons elicit, and March is so weird because it is both going into spring. The first day of spring's in March, but it also still feels like winter here in Indiana, so I'm always kind of like, I don't know. This month was 100% a fantasy month. I guess March is just going to be my fantasy month because I think like probably 80% of what I read in March are all fantasy books. Let's get into them. I've found some of my favorite books ever in March. I had a spectacular reading month. The ratings, I feel like you will see within the ratings of all of these books of just how much of a great, amazing, spectacular reading month I had, which is always something that is so exciting. Obviously, as a reader, one of the things that you want to do is like always have good books that you're reading and never have like a 1-star or a 2-star. And this month was just one of those months for me. I just literally loved almost every single book that I read this month. So let's talk about them. In February, I am pretty sure that I kind of ended off the month on one of the books of the Throne of Glass series. So I made it my life's mission in March to complete the Throne of Glass series, which I did. Starting off, of course, with Heir of Fire. This was the next book in the lineup for where I was at the end of February. So I started off March with Heir of Fire because I just really wanted to continue on with this series. I was really loving where I was at, and this book is where a lot of people start to say that they really fall in love with the series. Honestly, before this book, I was very indifferent to it. The books are kind of odd because I really loved Throne of Glass, and then the next 2 books kind of start taking you into the actual storyline, and I say actual because the first book is like this whole entire different plot line than what matters for the rest of the series. Like, honestly, I'm just being so transparent with you guys. The first book doesn't even feel like it belongs in this same series. It feels like I'm just reading like a random book with the same characters in it. It was odd, but I loved that book. And then the other 2 books were kind of fell flat. And then I picked up Heir of Fire, and you meet a character in this book that is just it's just everything to me. I started reading this and I was like, wow, okay, I'm starting to get the hype. I really like this book. This book kind of takes that. There's like a storyline in every single fantasy book where at some point the female MC or the male MC is always training for something, or they have to train for something with their powers, and that's kind of like what was happening with this book. And I loved it. You start learning a lot of backstory. You meet a super important character that hopefully you all learn to love. I'm gonna be honest though, at first I was like, I know that this is supposed to be the love interest, but wow, like I have never seen like an enemies to lovers start out like this in a book. I was literally like almost flabbergasted. Like if you've read this book or if you read them, you will know. I rated Air of Fire. I think originally I rated it a 4 stars, but I'm gonna change it to a 4.5 after, you know, like completing the series. Fell in love with the series in this book, so I feel like it deserves that hype. It deserves that recognition. Absolutely love it. Air of Fire, 4.5 stars. And then of course you go into Queen of Shadows, which again, this is where the book starts getting, again, like if you thought that Air of Fire was where the book started getting good, Queen of Shadows, even better. The storyline that this book took, I really, really liked it. And then you also start to get to know some other side characters, and they become so important in this book. And you kind of start getting that found family feeling in this book. This was also a 4.5 stars for me. I just absolutely, especially with this book, like Air of Fire is where I started loving the series. This is where I fell in love with the characters in the series. But these two books really is where the series started getting good for me. And I know it's so annoying to hear people be like, yeah, you gotta suffer through the first 3 books, and then I swear it starts getting good after that. Like, I wasn't suffering through those books. It was just like, I was so confused because I really liked Throne of Glass. And then the next books after that, I was kind of like, wait, where are we going with this? You know, like, it just doesn't feel like it's a part of the same series at all, if that makes any sense. I don't know. And this is the time of the month where I went to New Jersey with Sarah and Haley. If you guys somehow have not watched those videos, I have the collab video and the vlog up on my channel. If you guys haven't watched them yet, go watch them because they're absolutely amazing. And I had the best time. And this is when we did the swapping 5-star reads video. And the first book that I finished for that video was By a Thread by Lucy Score. And this book has been on my physical TBR for some months now. Okay, this book has been on my physical TBR for some months now, and I just always kind of looked at it. I have enjoyed every single like Lucy Score book that she had put out, and I don't know why. Just whenever I tried to read this, I just was like, no, can't do it. So then we did it for a video, and wow, this book was a 5 stars. If you guys watched that video, then you know already, but this book was a 5 stars. Literally, I have thought about this book multiple times throughout the month. Thank you to Bestie Sarah for having me read this. It was like so different because it was kind of like, I wouldn't even call it Grumpy Sunshine because it's not like the girl was like this super sunshine personality. It was just kind of like the guy is grumpy, and I liked their banter back and forth, and I liked, you know, some things. There were some times where the guy kind of got a little like for me, you know, but other than that, I really loved it, and I loved their banter and the storylines that this book took. I just really liked it, and I just really love Lucy Score's writing. I literally want to read like all of her other books because all of her books have been extremely highly rated on my scale. And the ending of this book and stuff that he does at the end of the book, you guys just need to read it to get to that part. Like, you need to read the whole entire book, but especially the ending and stuff that he starts doing for her literally had me in tears. The second book that I read for that video, I couldn't decide out of the 3 different physical copies that I own of this book. I kid you not. I literally bought this one in Jersey, already had this one, and then I bought this one when I got home. I read Once Upon a Broken Heart for that video. This was another book that has just been sitting on my physical TBR for a long time, like some months now, because I'm one of those people that if somebody says like, you should read this trilogy before you read this, like, then I want to do it. You do not have to read the Caraval trilogy before you read this. All of that being said, I was a little like sketchy to go into this, but then I saw Haley rave about it, and then she had me and Sarah read this book, and wow, did I not fall in love. Wait, did I not? I did fall in love with this book and with these characters and with the world. This was a 4.5 stars for me. So close to a 5. It was just so magical. I've said this, I feel like I've talked about this book in a few videos, but if you like the whole entire like Alice in Wonderland type world, then you will love this series if that's like something that really appeals to you, because that is what I can directly kind of correlate this with. It's very fairy tale, and it takes place and talks about fairy tales, so if that is something that is interesting to you, then you would absolutely fall in love with this. I'm telling you right now, the two characters in this book and even more of the characters and just the storyline that it takes, and it just feels like reading a modern day fairy tale that is set in a fantasy realm. And the guy in this book that a lot of people pine after and love, like I started seeing like what was up with him in this book, and I was like, wow. Nothing compares to this, however, which is The Ballad of Never After, which is actually the second book, because this is actually going to be a trilogy, but only the first two books are out right now. The third book comes out in September. How I'm going to make it to September without reading this, I don't know, because this book does kind of like leave you off being like, wow. Go watch my reading 5 fantasy books in 5 days, because I actually read, this was like the first book that I read for that video, because I was coming back from New Jersey and was reading it on the plane and literally finished it. Like, I got off the plane and I only had like 10% left. I flew through this book. It was so good. You're already kind of like introduced to this world and these characters, and then you're thrown right back into the story. And the storyline that this book takes, I didn't even think that it could get more interesting from the first one. And it got so interesting in this one. And then again, the character development of certain relationships, of certain friendships in this book, and then just stuff that the guy does, especially towards the end. Then this is when I finished off the Throne of Glass series, so I actually tandem read Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. If you guys watched my reading 5 fantasy books in 5 days, you guys are like, not her talking about tandem reading again. But I am, for those of you who didn't watch it. Basically what it means is just like you're reading these books at the same time, so you'll read like chapter 1 through 5, and then you'll read chapter 1 through 3, and then you'll read chapter 6 through 10, and then like, you know, back and forth like that. There's a bunch of different, I think, reading orders for this. A lot of people were like, what website did you use? I don't know. I literally just looked it up, looked at the first website that popped up, and then I just did that one. Like, I really wasn't doing too much research into it. Respectively, it was weird. It was very odd to try to rate these two books, because it literally felt like you were just reading one book when you're tandem reading them, which may take away from the experience. I don't know. To rate them separately, Empire of Storms, 5 out of 5. Absolutely love this book. Oh my gosh, the storyline, the relationships, things that happen in this book, the whole entire story arc of this book. I literally can't help but smile when I talk about it, because it is so amazing. And Tower of Dawn, this book is like odd to me, because how I said this in my other video was that this book is where kind of like all the action is, and then this book is like a lot of information that you will want to use in other books, not even for this series. Wink wink, if you know what I mean. This book follows a side character that is important for the previous books, but a lot of people were like, I needed this book to have this character have a redemption arc. This character never needed a redemption arc for me. I stayed loving this character throughout the whole entire series. Every time that my reading was over for this book and I had to go back to this book, I was just like, like, I just knew like what was gonna happen, and I was just like, okay, cool. Like, all this information sometimes doesn't really go to my brain, but like together with this, since I tandem read it, it would be a 5 stars, if that makes any sense. I don't know. And then of course I read Kingdom of Ash, the like 1,000 page book, and I gave this one a 5, a 6 out of 5. Like, it was so good. The perfect way to end off this series. The way that I literally want to start crying right now thinking about the ending of this book and just how everything wraps up and things that happen in this book. It was just, it was so good. So many emotional things happened in this book. I got the same feeling when I read the ACOTAR series of like how emotionally attached I am to the characters, and then I got that same exact feeling, maybe even more, I kid you not, for the characters that are in this book. The female MC of this series is everything to me. She is my favorite female MC of anything that I've ever read before. Everything that she does, how much she loves like the people around her, everything that she will sacrifice. So many selfless things that she did throughout the whole entire series, and just how much of a fierce protector she is of everything and everything that she cares about, just was everything. And even the side characters that you learn to love, and just how all of them are found family and fantasy, just always gets to me every single time. And the storyline of this book, things that happen in this book, that just, it's an emotional roller coaster, and I'm telling you, this didn't even feel like 1,000 pages. I sat down and read this book in one sitting. Like, I didn't even move, like, for hours and hours. I did not even move because I didn't want to get away from where I was. I just wanted to keep on reading it. It was genuinely such a visceral experience for me. Like, I don't know if I will ever feel like this when reading a book again. Probably Crescent City 3, honestly. It's the next time that I will feel like this when reading a book. I am just in love with this series. This series is a 6-star series for me, and the only series that are like 6-star series is ACOTAR, the Boys of Tommen series, and the Addicted Calloway Sister series are like 6-star series for me. I just love this so much. Throne of Glass is like one of my new favorite things, and I just want everyone to read it and talk about it because it's just so good. And then I'm not going to dwell on this book too much because then I read Kingdom of the Wicked and I rated this a 1 star. I really wanted to DNF it. I DNF'd it actually last year, and then I decided to pick it back up for that fantasy video, and I just got through it because I was like 70% through the book, and I was like, why not just finish it? It was just, I didn't care about any of the characters. I didn't like the romance in the book. I just didn't really care, and I didn't like it. And so it was a 1 star. I will not be continuing on with the rest of the series either. Again, March was just such a good reading month because then I picked up another one of my favorite series, and that is the Elsie Silver. I don't know what this series is called. The first book is Flawless. I'm telling you, from like page 2, I was just hooked. This is literally a small town romance, and these people are like country. Like, they are literally like cowboys. This guy in this book literally rides bulls for a living. Like, I kid you not. Stuff that I wouldn't necessarily like foresee myself really enjoying. And like the fact that I was really like, I can't wait to read about his next like bull riding championship to see what happens. Like, please, what is going on? This book was a 4 stars for me. I really enjoyed the whole entire thing. The only thing that didn't make this a 5 stars, like, as a reader, you guys know, like, you could be absolutely loving and adoring a book, which I was, and there's just one thing that can like change it for you, and for this it was really feeling like a 5 stars. But then of course you have a third act conflict. That's not a spoiler, that's just like in every single romance book there's always a third act conflict, whatever. It was so completely and utterly out of character for the main guy in this book. Like, the things that he did in the third act conflict was so out of character to how he was acting like the whole entire book. It just felt like so out of left field, and it felt like it was supposed to be something that was like unforgivable, but it just felt so out of character that it almost like slapped me across the face. And that is the only thing that took it from a 5 stars to a 4 stars. Other than that, I absolutely loved and adored this book. And then I went to Heartless, which is the second book, and wow, this book was a 4.5 stars. I loved this. I didn't think that it could get better, and then it did. So basically, all of these people are basically like brothers. Well, there's like, I think the next book, he isn't a brother. I don't know. It's like very complicated to get into, but he is the brother of the guy from this book. And you see his character, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to like his book because like the way he acts is kind of just like, not grumpy, you're just a jerk. You know what I'm saying? And so then I went into this book, and honestly, like, you can understand why he acts the way he does at the beginning of the book, because he is basically looking for a nanny for the summer for his son. And like, obviously you're going to be closed off when looking for a nanny when he's already a grumpy guy. He had to grow up way faster than the rest of his brothers, and he's always been like the caretaker of the family. And so that intermixed with like why he's grumpy, and then intermixed with, yeah, I'm finding a nanny for my child. Like, I'm not just going to be all like happy-go-lucky. But he quickly like lets that fall down, and he still is kind of like a brooding guy. Like, that's what I would honestly call him, is just very like brooding. Like, he's like, or is it brooding, however you pronounce it, you guys know what I'm saying. And I just loved their relationship. The girl in this book is everything to me. Like, she was just like the definition of like a wildflower child. Like, it was just so cute, and just how much of like a fierce protector, and she's not afraid to like tell somebody off. She's a very, very strong female character. I love to read strong female characters. Like, she is so set in her ways. Like, no, you are going to respect me. I don't care. We're going to communicate. The only thing that didn't make this book a 5 stars, and I'm like, Miss Elsie Silver, this is like what happened with all of the books, is that the third act conflict, again, came out of nowhere, and then it was solved extremely quickly, which, like, not complaining about that, but then it was like the third act conflict was like an important part to the rest of the remaining story, and then you didn't spend enough time on that. Like all of a sudden it was like, yeah, this happened, boom, end of book, and I was like, what? But other than that, I loved this book so much. And then the last book of this that's out right now, because the next book comes out in June, literally cannot wait for that book. I'm telling you that right now. But anyway, the last book that's out right now is Powerless, and this one's like she's a ballerina and then he's a hockey player, which was completely like out of left field, because again, the first guy's a bull rider and then he's like a ranch handler, so then this guy's like, it's like a hockey romance all of a sudden, but it doesn't really take place a lot with the hockey. Like it's more about their childhood. They are like childhood best friends to lovers. You kind of get some snippets of their past and like some of their like some like scenes of them being younger, but then like they're going on this road trip and they're kind of like exploring their feelings for each other, and she's always had feelings for him, like, you know, the whole thing. And this book was a 4.5 stars. What made this book not be a 5 stars is because basically the guy in this book isn't one of the brothers, and he's not like a cousin. He's just somebody that they basically like, he spent a lot of time with around in their childhood. Like they basically kind of like took him in a way. So he's not related to them at all, but the, you know, like the guys in the family look at him as a brother. Well, the girl in this book is the main guy's cousin. Like the main two guys how they're brothers, this girl is their cousin, so like they're cousins, right? They call the main guy in this book her cousin so many times. Why are we doing that? Because they're not related at all. Why are we throwing the word cousin around and then having them be love interests? I will never know. Like I just feel like that should have never been a part of the book, and it just kept icking me out. Like I was literally like, I can't do this. I cannot look at you guys literally say the word cousin one more time, referring to them when they're in fact not cousins at all, not even raised as cousins. It was just like, it became like such a big plot point of the book that I just genuinely was like, I can't do this. Other than that, I loved the two. There's some trauma in this book, and they just understand each other and they care for each other so deeply, and I really, really loved reading this, and I cannot wait for the third book to come out. Literally, I don't think my life will be complete without it. Okay guys, I swear we only have one more book for the month, and that is none other than Redeeming 6 by Chloe Walsh. I am honestly sad that I already read this, because like when I read, did I read Saving 6 last month? I think I did. When I read Saving 6 last month, I knew that this book was going to be there, you know, like next month. Like I knew it was going to be here in March. I flew through this book like in a couple sittings, because it is a thick book. And I flew through this in a couple sittings, and now I feel so empty inside, because I don't know when the next Boys of Tommen book is coming out, and I don't know how to properly deal with that in a healthy emotional way. Of course, this book was a 5 stars. Oh my god, I loved this book so freaking much. I just love the Boys of Tommen series. I will tell you guys this. If you guys are more interested in like a plot heavy book, then this honestly probably won't be for you, because the Boys of Tommen series is literally just a character study. And what I mean by that is you are literally just reading about these people's day-to-day lives. Like there's no plot. You're just literally like, you feel like you are living life with these characters, because you are just reading about what they're doing every single day and how they are interacting with each other every single day. And I eat that up. Like I absolutely love it. Honestly though, it does kind of make me form an unhealthy attachment to these characters. But other than that, I mean, it's amazing, and I just loved this book. Saving 6 got a 4.5 for me, and the other two previous books, Minding and Keeping 13, that follow a different couple, those got 5 stars for me. Those are literally like some of my favorite books of all time. And then this book, oh my gosh, I just absolutely loved it. The emotional storyline that you go through, the character development, seeing the other characters from outsider perspectives of like other characters from the other one, you get kind of details that you miss in the other books, and I was kind of like slapped in the face with one thing. I'm not going to get into it, but I was like, wow, like to stuff that you have to look forward to in the next books, and people that are getting their own books, and you guys like to read just basically about people's lives and just really get into that found family trope and people who genuinely care about each other so much and love each other so much, please read these books, because they're absolutely amazing. And I'm telling you, like, they're so long, but they just don't feel long enough to me. I love them so much, and Chloe Walsh has done something absolutely amazing with these books. I don't know what she's laced in between these pages for me to absolutely love it so much, but I do, and I will never get over it. But those are all of the books that I read this month. As I have already stated, I found so many new series that I'm absolutely in love with. I found, like, literally, other than Kingdom of the Wicked, I did not rate a book below 4 stars this month. That is like unheard of for me. I don't know what was going on, but I just, this month was so good. It was genuinely so good, and I'm so happy. Like, it makes me so happy to have such a good reading month. Again, it does not matter how many books you read in a month. It matters of the actual, like, quality of the books that you're reading and that you're loving them. Like, I love that I have read like 12 great books this month. Just so, like, my heart is genuinely so happy, and I hope we keep it on with April, and I feel like we will. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, then you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff that you guys know how to do. Thank you so much to Book of the Month again for sponsoring today's video, and thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will literally see you like here in a day or two. Bye. Peace.